Welcome to any episode of ALPTalks. This episode is in honor of World IP Day coming up on the 20th of April. And it's World IP Day is an initiative by the World Intellectual Property Organization, also called WIPO, which is to raise awareness about just how important IP is to creators, to innovators, and how it's such an important part of everyday life. And the theme this year is IP and music, feel the beat of IP. So, to discuss music and IP, we have a very special guest with us today, Ajebutter22. He is a rapper and singer based in Lagos, Nigeria. He is known for his witty lyrics, his blend of alter music, Afrofusion, and he has had hits from Omo Pastor to three EPs that have been collaborative works called Making No Cause Fights to his most recent album, which is Soundtrack to the Good Life. We're excited to have him here today to discuss just how IP has helped the music industry in Nigeria and helped his journey so far in the Nigerian music industry.
Nice, nice. Thanks for having
Welcome,
me.
welcome.
Thank you. Far too kind. You know. Yeah, so let's get to it.
Okay,
I'm excited to be here.
yeah, all right. Let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
When you started off as in the music industry, did you have any idea of what IP was? Or was it as you were going, you had to figure stuff out?
Yeah, not a damn clue. Not no clue, no idea. I don't even think I heard the phrase or the IP before, intellectual property. None of that. And also like I started music more from obviously like just the love of making music, of rapping, of writing lyrics. Nothing in my journey ever thought about the business side of it at all. Like it was like the last thing on my mind. In fact, when I started making music and like writing lyrics, I had never. I'd been writing lyrics for at least 5 years before I ever even went into a studio to record
Oh
music.
wow.
Yeah, and not to even talk of you know the process of releasing music or the process of understanding like your intellectual property and all that. So all that was like really new, and I think the music industry generally is a young people's game.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are dreaming of starting music careers and stuff, they're mostly like really young. So
Yeah.
that part of the business doesn't really
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't.
cross our mind. Maybe now like a lot more because there's more exposure.
Mm-hmm.
There's the internet. People
Yeah.
do a lot of
There's
that.
more
But
like, yeah.
yeah, but
You learn. Oh.
then it wasn't a thing at all. Yeah.
Okay. So what then helped you understand IP in the early days? As
Mm,
I mean, I know you mentioned now with like growth and technology
yeah.
but what at that time, what was
The only thing that honestly, the things that helped were just okay. I'll say two things. One is the rise of like streaming,
mm-hmm.
and music, digital music, like music on the internet. That was like a big thing, and obviously like just going into the music business, like releasing things, having hits, or having just being exposed to like the business part of things was the only thing that gave us that exposure.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you even like some artists, maybe like before my time,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't have that digital exposure might not really even have gotten really into IP conversations like
100%,
that
yeah.
because they just made most of their money off of like shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like in
True.
this region, yeah.
Even now, I think to an extent, a
Yeah.
lot of money comes from shows.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's. I think it's way more balanced now, but then,
Okay.
yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you've had an over a decade long in in the music
Mhm.
industry. What does IP mean to you now as an artist?
Um, the simple way to put it, of what it means to me now. I had a conversation with MI like
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, and I was complaining to Emma at the time that, man, Emma, I've been doing this for a while. I don't have like a house to my name and everything. And he was like, "Yo, how many albums do you have? That is your property right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is equivalent to people having houses.
Mm-hmm.
Those are assets that you're building."
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it just changed my mindset to understand the importance of music, and everything that it creates as an asset. So even to the point where when I go to the studio now, like today, I'm making an asset. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
here to do. I'm here to contribute something to my future. So that's what IP means to me. It's like you're creating digital assets and you're doing that over and over again. And once you've and everything that you're doing in that sense should always be looked at as that kind of investment and should always be treated like that. So that's what it means to me.
I think that's great because I think a lot of people underestimate the value of IP just because it's not tangible. They think it doesn't matter. You can't like with the houses, you can see your house.
Exactly.
Somebody can say, "Oh, that house is in XYZ, therefore it must be valued at so and such." But because IP is by its nature, it's not tangible. A lot of people do overlook it. I think it's great to hear that you have now
Yeah,
seen the.
for sure, for sure. And I think like because when I started putting out music,
Mhm,
we're part of the first people to put out music online. In fact, at the time, maybe this is like 2010, sorry, no, I'll say maybe like 2011, 2012 period. When you release your song on Twitter,
mhm.
they will call you a Twitter artist or like a,
It's like
like
now they call them TikTok artists now.
something like that's
Yeah.
even better even because then it was super looked down on like if you release your music
Mhm.
on Twitter and stuff like that.
Really?
But to us, because I started dropping music when I was in the UK, but I
Mhm,
wanted people in Nigeria or all over the world to hear it.
mhm.
But how would I reach people? I can't come physically to
Yeah.
give people my CD. So we'll be sending emails to people, releasing music on like social media
Mhm,
and stuff like that. And it was going far and it was going really fun. It helped us to blow like faster.
mhm,
But other people were looking at it like the old heads were looking at it like
mhm,
this is a joke. Like, you don't have any proper street presence. But
mhm,
you actually do because
mhm.
at the end of the day, the end result is the same in terms of
Yeah,
people
I've
listening
blown,
to your
I've
music.
blown, and my music has gone worldwide.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think new methods are always scary to people who have been established in an industry. It's always a
100%.
disruptor. Like with AI, we'll come to AI later, but just like with AI now, it's all causing all kinds of panic
Yeah.
across board. But
Yeah.
it's a disruptor, it's a disruptor. We live and we adapt.
Yeah.
But on topic of worldwide streaming,
Mhm.
so how do you cope with your work now, like with Apple Music, Spotify?
Mhm.
How do you just ensure that your rights are protected when you're sharing it internationally?
Um, that's a very good question. In terms of artists being protected, the system I'd say is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's improving, but it's improving slowly. And sometimes it feels like some things are not just being improved on just because there's some things that you really can't figure out why they're like that. For instance, um, when you're when you're distributing your songs to DSPs,
Mm-hmm.
like the Apple Music, the
So for
Spotify's,
our audience, we don't know what DSP
um,
is.
digital streaming platforms. Yeah, so you know, Boomplay, AudioMac, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. When you're distributing music to those platforms, the way that you get your reporting and
Mm-hmm.
you get your money paid and
Mm-hmm.
the timeline that takes to happen,
Mm-hmm.
that process is still very like it's not transparent.
Right.
It's not transparent as it should be. It's not as organized as it should be. It's not as quick as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, this is not as bad as it used to be before, but
Mm-hmm.
again, like these things can improve. And also for people that are in this region, it's even worse.
Mm.
In terms of like back in the day, if it, like maybe early in my career,
Mm-hmm.
you just had maybe like one or two people that say, "Oh, they put your songs on streaming platforms for you," like
Mm-hmm.
almost like they're doing you a favor. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, they will chop some people's eye and use that one to collect money from you on
Wow.
top of your money.
And they won't
You
remit
could
the
have.
money back to
No,
you.
they wouldn't. In a lot of cases, they wouldn't. And sometimes people could just take your songs and literally just go and upload them.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't happen anymore. So, I mean, in that sense, your rights were not protected at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it also comes to the situation of also, the way contracts are set up, the way um, there's a kind of mistake between, how artist contracts are. And it's not like, it doesn't feel straightforward. It doesn't seem like, okay, there's a full understanding of of what's happening, and there's also so many different kind of deals
Mm-hmm.
in between an artist and the final
Mm-hmm.
point, and so there's a lot of like mistake in between. So
Yeah.
I'd say like is the protection is getting better, and there's information out there,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still I feel like there's still a long way to go to like proper protection of rights,
Right.
yeah, and the end result from what we want to achieve from where we are now.
Okay. That's very interesting. So obviously we're here to discuss music and IP, but we're also here to get some gist. So
Yeah.
can you tell us like an experience you had where your IP was either challenged when this your like as you grew, or where it was protected and you were like, wow,
I can,
thank God.
well, I can tell you situations where, and this is not just me, like, back in the day of ringback tunes,
Mm-hmm.
people will take your intellectual property and you will not get paid. You can just take your song, put it on MTN or something, or like,
Right, yeah, yeah,
and people
yeah.
will be doing ringback tunes and you can't go and check how much, like, there's not
How
even
many people are
visibility.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, you have no idea how much. So there's someone gonna just tell you that, is 10 downloads that you got. There's nothing you can do.
But that's not an issue. Like I guess is it like you're facing today with all the other platforms? They
Yeah,
tell
I mean,
you
but at least with the platforms, sometimes there's like some transparency.
right.
You get, and then you can kind of like audit it in a way, and which is another thing that kind of can happen now that
Hmm.
definitely wasn't happening before.
Right.
Yeah, but there are so many situations like that.
Give us
Yeah.
a little tidbit, one that you were like, ah, God,
Ah,
I've learned from this experience. It will never happen again.
I mean, I've been kind of lucky, but the ones I'm telling you, those ringback tunes people, those people are notorious. And like I even remember like pretty pretty early on, like one of the first, I think it was on my pastor, yes, or pastor video, on YouTube. I can remember that year. The guys that distributed it,
Hmm.
like they just would, first of all, we got really, really bad deals at the time, like
Mm,
horrible deals.
really?
Yeah, like horrible deals. Again, we did not know anything. We're just coming into the industry.
Hmm.
People just say, come and, sign this. Well, it's music. I'd have done it for free anyway. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
And at the time, shows were still like the main way of making money. Say, okay, do it, distribute, distribute, distribute. So boom. 1 year passed, 2 year passed. Where's the money? No money. And next thing the company just run, just disappear, say we have gone bankrupt. Say bankrupt as how big bro. What I see.
Okay,
To
how
do
do you
what?
feel like?
Yeah, and like, you just don't really get any conclusions or, much on that. And it just like goes funny.
Wow.
There's so many examples of things like that have happened in the industry, even to our publishing rights societies in Nigeria. I'm sure you know the publishing rights societies in Nigeria. You know, where's the transparency? What goes on? Nobody knows. You just come and get a check. You got XYZ money. It got to a point where I didn't even use the cash checks. I said,
Really? You
yeah,
just
because I'm just like, why? Not because it's just like, how can you even, like, me collecting this money means that I agree that this is how this was
right.
done, that this is how much was made. But you can't show me how.
So
You
when
get
so but
um,
did that feeling just was what was the feeling with that? Like, it was like a helplessness? Was it an
yeah,
anger, annoyance? Was it just like, oh, I need to know more to know
everything.
better, or just
There's everything. There's anger, there's annoyance, but for me, I mean, people are different, right?
mm-hmm.
For me, I just like to control the controllables in a lot of situations. So I don't want to waste too much time or effort on things that I feel are beyond my control at the time. I just try and focus on the things that I can focus on, I can control. So yeah.
Okay. So looking at your work,
Mm-hmm.
you are clearly a fan of. It appears that you're a fan of collaboration. You
Yeah,
have
like
many collaborative songs, EPs, making no cause fights 1 to 3. I mean, that shows
yeah, we've done some good collabs.
great EPs, by the way.
Thank you.
But how do you handle IP with those? Is it like you think from the beginning you've had a discussion that okay, this is what we're gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
or is it that at the end you just say, you know what, let's focus on the music, and at the end we'll figure it out?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter. More of like, I mean, I've been kind of lucky because if I'm collaborating with like Budge, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
it's like an even split because, you know, we are both artists
Mm-hmm.
and we both own the music. So
Right.
that's kind of easy to split. Um, Other times it's not always so easy, and musicians don't really like to have business conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Really, in life, no one really likes to have all those
Mm-hmm.
awkward conversations about splitting money
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. No one really likes, but in the case of music, people really, really don't like to have those conversations. And that's what we have managers for
Yeah.
to say, hey, go and tell him something I don't want to say, or you go and say something I don't want to say.
Yeah.
So that kind of works that way. But I think in the long run, it will always get done.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations. I'm the kind of person that, you know, no matter what it is, let's just agree.
Mm-hmm.
And let's keep it moving. Let's agree on however I want to split whatever and keep it moving. But yeah, that is something that causes a lot of problem in the industry because that lack of wanting to have that
Yeah.
confrontation or that conversation. If you now push it down the line, like, oh wait, I thought you were on this page. Oh wait, I
Mm-hmm.
thought you were on that page. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it causes a lot of beef.
Because why I ask that, I feel that
Mhm.
obviously because I think most people who do music, they're very passionate about music,
Yeah,
and it's hard sometimes. Just you get lost in the passion, just create the music,
hundred
but then
percent.
at the end, person A may be like, "Ah, but it's my passion too. I was more
Exactly.
passionate,"
That yeah,
and that's why I think it's important that you have agreements in
yeah.
place, just so everybody, because everybody knows from the jump what they are doing, as
Mhm.
opposed to like, oh, I thought this is what it was.
Yeah, and that's another thing that has changed with time, especially in
Hmm.
the Nigerian music industry. There's been a lot more maturity.
Okay.
A lot of times before, bro, you just do features and it's just vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just everybody just goes and makes money from the thing as
Mm-hmm.
much as they can.
Right.
So if
Separately, not even
yeah,
like a
separately, like
conjoined.
so I mean if it's your song,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously you paid for like the video, the promo,
Mm-hmm.
boom, that's all you. Nice one, big bro.
Right.
But I can perform it. I go, I perform it. I make my bread. You go, you perform the song, you make your bread.
Interesting.
Everybody, you just understand that the idea of being on that song, if it goes far,
Mm-hmm.
pushes both of you. Do you get?
But one person is making significantly more from it.
But that'll be the person that
That puts
invested
yes.
significantly more
Yeah.
initially. So that's kind of how it was. But now, like on every song, like people have splits.
Mm-hmm.
Producers have their splits. Songwriters have their splits.
Mm-hmm.
Featured artists have their
Mm-hmm.
splits. And so on and so forth. So that's kind of how it works now.
Okay.
But before it was like it definitely was more vibes. And I
Yeah.
just think like we just didn't know any better.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah, definitely not knowing. So I'm actually going to ask that with the way you split it, was there ever a point where because there was no prior agreement, it
Mhm.
now caused maybe a small dispute, a little fight where it's just like
Well, I mean,
we didn't have an agreement, but
yeah,
now everybody wants different things. Like have
yeah, definitely. That happens. That happens a lot. In my own case, not really, because I try to have conversations
mm-hmm,
with people uh, as much as possible. I get my team to also do that. But I mean, if it ever comes to like an extreme situation,
mm-hmm.
just take and go. Like,
Really
yeah, I mean, like, cause why? We'll have an ideas cannot finish. We'll make another
true.
song. You know, um, we'll make more hits. We'll make more things. So I mean, unless the person is trying to like legit rip you off, then that's a
Yeah,
different situation.
that's a very interesting approach. Very peaceful.
Yeah,
No
that's
stress.
yeah,
There's enough stress in life, then
exactly. There's enough stress in life.
that's interesting. Okay. As we discussed, you've had a long career in the Nigerian music industry. You watched it evolve. I think in our discussion, we discussed some of the
Yeah.
areas it has evolved in. But in your opinion, do you think the Nigerian IP system is keeping up with the music industry?
I don't know what the Nigerian IP system is,
Mm-hmm.
but I think is more of Nigerian artists really are global artists.
Mm-hmm.
So we go with, the global standards and, most people are signed to a distributor or record label that is international.
Mm-hmm.
So that international standard, that premise is what actually prevails. So
Right.
people are not using, I don't know that there's a
They're not
local,
using the like Nigerian.
yeah, no, they're not using that because even the music in itself is global.
Mm-hmm.
The territories we're covering are global.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every contract, music contract you have
Mm-hmm.
we discuss the territory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some will be UK, some will be US, some will be Africa, some will
Mm-hmm.
be, so I think everybody always moves with that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'd say artists on my level at least will be
Mm-hmm.
thinking with the kind of like global mindset for all the music they're making. So that's how they'll interpret any contracts they're doing and the laws that that's what will govern the contracts and their
Mm-hmm.
thinking. So I don't think that people are really um like trying to go with the like Nigerian
Nigerian
way, Nigerian
standards.
standard. If I don't know. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
like come here and say that I know what the Nigerian
Okay.
standard is specifically.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I think in itself is an indicator. I think if it was keeping up, you'd be a bit more aware of it because it'd be more.
Yeah, maybe.
So
I don't know.
yeah, but that's fair enough.
Our music is global now.
Yes, we are fully international.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
a great thing,
For
and I
sure.
think the as you said, just like the sharing it on the Twitter, on like people who knock TikTok stars now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why per se, because they want to blow their music.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily know how to get record deals, and the agreements involved may not understand it. So you know what? Do it on my own terms.
Yeah. Anyway, it works for you, man.
Yeah.
There's no formula.
Mm-hmm.
Everything now updates because people are laughing at TikTok people too. They'll jump on and enter TikTok too. Same way. And if TikTok is going fire
Look
down.
at everybody now.
That's how
Everybody
it
that
is
did
now.
TikTok in COVID is
Exactly.
now all blown.
Do you understand? So it's just what it is. You just have to change with the times. I think
Yeah.
um the thing that everything has positives and negatives, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The some artists can just blow in like very few, like so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And because maybe they blew from TikTok, maybe only like 15 seconds of that song will blow.
Mm-hmm.
And go to a concert and like, okay, I don't really know what's going on here. Like,
I
who's this
don't
guy?
know.
But then when they're asking 15 seconds, everybody will be jumping after that, everybody goes,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't matter because that the way the person has blown doesn't make the person a better or worse artist.
Mm-hmm.
Person was not a good artist and
Mm-hmm.
they blew. They are still not
They
a
still
good,
won't
but
be a
if it
good
was a good
artist.
artist and they got that opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
they will still go and do well because at the end of the day, that's just a gateway. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
platform for them to be who they want to be.
Yeah, that is true. So we've said that when you came into industry, you didn't know anything about
No, I
IP.
did not.
But do you think that now, when you like speak to younger artists, do
Mhm.
you think they understand IP?
Some do. Well, not. I understand is a so a little bit. Experience always helps.
Mm-hmm.
But they will have like at least they will have more knowledge than I did when I came.
Right.
They'll know about splits, they'll care about stuff like that. Like the
Mm-hmm.
term split sheets is something that people know on Twitter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the way music is consumed now, it's kind of like sports in that people care about stats
Mm-hmm.
now. They care about, how many streams is this artist getting, how
Mm-hmm.
many followers does this person have in this country, how many
Mm-hmm.
people were in the stadium, what's the size of the stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and what's the capacity. These
Mm-hmm.
are all stats that people never cared about before.
Right.
You get so there's a lot more like research
Mm-hmm.
into what happens. So that's why, like I said, the term split sheets, which is like, the agreement you have and
Mm-hmm.
how you guys are splitting your stuff is something that is popular now.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about paying creators,
Mm-hmm.
not just crediting them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a time in the industry where crediting wasn't even like a thing that
Mm-hmm.
people did all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the back of album covers, you didn't see all the
Oh yeah,
producers,
yeah, yeah.
even if you saw the producers, you didn't see the songwriters, you didn't see the engineers.
Mm-hmm.
I remember on my album, What Happens in Lagos, when I put all the songwriters, all the studios I recorded
Mm-hmm.
in, everything. It was like kind of bizarre to see that
Mm-hmm.
on an album cover. But then now I feel like it's
It's
normal.
becoming.
People have a credits page. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that to say that there's a lot more information out there and people are more obsessed and more interested in
Mm-hmm.
information. So younger artists, I believe they will know a lot about that.
Yeah.
A lot more. They might not know the industry standard. They might
Yeah.
not know how much specifically they should get,
Mm-hmm.
but at least they are aware
They're a bit
that
more aware.
they should get
Because why? I feel like with music, because there's so many moving parts,
hmm
it's easy to understand why there be confusion. Like
yeah,
the
for sure.
song itself, the lyrics and the composition have their own separate copyrights,
Yeah.
and the song itself has its own separate copyrights. And I remember I went to a conference, a photography conference. I was talking to a young photographer, and they had no idea that their work couldn't be in a movie without their permission.
Mm.
I remember thinking like, this
Yeah.
is your livelihood.
Yeah.
It should be. You need to be aware of your rights. You need to know how, because that's how, as I said earlier, that's your asset. That's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah. It's
what,
your asset for real.
that's going to be your house in banana.
Exactly. You're absolutely right about that. But I wouldn't blame the artists or I wouldn't blame the creators because um even in different walks of life, like there's people that design clothes.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to design clothes, but they don't know how where the maybe the original fabric, like threads,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they learn with time.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might know about that. They might not know about like, the proper production machines and,
Mm-hmm.
costs and things like that. Different things that go into a business.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with a lot of businesses, people come in from one angle
Mm-hmm.
and then expand to other parts of it with time and as they learn. And again, like I said, like, a lot of us starts really, really young. So who know a lot about.
So, what do you think could be done to encourage that awareness? By just to encourage young creators
Mm-hmm.
to know their rights. Because I agree with you, it's definitely not, if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah,
You can't be held responsible
yeah.
for not knowing. But how do we encourage the
Um,
thirst for knowledge just beyond that? Oh, I want to blow. I need, like, how do I say, yeah.
so platforms like this is a really good way to do that. People talking about it. And again, I'll use the example of sports. Why people know a lot more about stats and all that stuff is
Mm-hmm.
because there are podcasts, because conversations on are happening about it. The
Mm-hmm.
former players, the ex-players are opening up and talking about how things were done.
Mm-hmm.
So the more conversations that people hear about stuff like this, the
Mm-hmm.
more they want to learn, the more involved that
Mm-hmm.
they want to get. Because I don't see somebody just waking up instead of writing a song. Oh, I sure want to go and learn about It's not
Yeah.
gonna happen. It will only come when you're in that situation that you need
True.
it. Because I mean, there's financial incentive to know
Mm-hmm.
about stuff like that. So if you're not in that situation that you need it and you don't hear it like in stuff like this, yeah, I don't think you'll be interested. So yeah, this is a really good way for people
Thank
to,
you.
yeah,
Thank you for coming.
that's what's up.
But just to add to that, like in Nigeria, thankfully, I am copyright actually writes automatically.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need registration. So at least the younger people, once they create, they have the copyright. Because in some other jurisdictions, you have to actually go and register before you now gain protection. So young people just create
Yeah.
and know that you have those rights already. So royalties.
Mm.
I think we've touched on this a little bit, but I want to go a little bit deeper. Like, what do you think of the current Nigerian industry royalty system? Like, I know you mentioned before, like obviously the law of non, it's not as transparent as you would like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what else?
So you said the Nigerian royalty system, or you mean the
The
industry?
Nigerian side, yeah, the
Industry.
industry.
Yeah, like I said, the industry that we're in now, like it really sits on like a global standard.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that investing a lot of the money are not Nigerians. They are not they're not like a
Right,
lot of local players. They're global players.
right.
So things are done to a global standard a lot of the time because they have to make their money. They have to get their
Mm-hmm.
money back one way or the other. So things are done, with that standard. So I think it's abreast with the
Yeah,
rest of the world. Um, and again, it's really up to you to go and get your royalties
royalties.
and work with the right people to make sure that what you have is attributed to you and stuff like that.
Well, thank you very much for coming in today.
You're welcome. Thanks for
That's
having
been
me.
all from ALP Talks. And please join our next session. And happy World IP Day.
Happy World IPA. What I say?
Thank you.